Hello, Collision Center owners and managers. Good day and happy September already. My name is Casey. I'm with SMB Visual, a freelance digital marketer into videography, do some SEO, but most recently, I've gotten into online business reputation management, which is what this presentation is actually all about. And as promised, I'm going to be showing you who finished as the #1 rated auto body shop in town, and we'll take a look at some of the runners up that also performed well and some of the folks that are further down the list and didn't perform so well, and see if we can discern why that happened. Uh, I do want to stress, though, that nothing about this presentation is an indictment of any particular shops or group of shops, about their work, their craftsmanship. That's not what this is about, nor is it a coronation for those who are at the top. Um, Most shops do good work, and that's just the way it is. What we're talking about here is something different. Now, I know the two can definitely be related. If a shop does do consistently poor work or have poor customer service, then clearly that is something that can show up in the review ratings that you see online. But from my standpoint, I wanted to come at this from the perspective of a consumer. And that is how I'm rating each of these businesses that are going to be in the list. And because that's how people are going to find you. And this is very Google centric, this presentation. And that's with good reason, because Google is the undisputed monster of search. 60% of all devices, whether it's a desktop computer, a laptop, a tablet, or a handheld device like even a phone, 60% use Google Chrome as their default browser. That means that Google is their default search engine. And of the other 40%, a great deal of them, including iPhone users, opt for Google as their default search engine. So what that translates to, the numbers are out, it's actually more than 90% of mobile search is owned by Google, with a distant second at 5%. That's incredible. So nobody's beating Google, and it's 75% across all devices. So if you as a business owner aren't focused on your reputation and how it appears on Google, then you're really missing the boat, because this, I hate to sound cliche, but it's the old, you only get one chance at making a good first impression. Well, it's very true. And that first impression, for the vast majority of consumers who are not yet familiar with you, is going to happen on Google. This is going to be their first exposure to your business. So you want to make sure that you're squared away there. And that is how I rated each business that's going to be appearing in this list. In any event, when I help a business out, what I like to shoot for is a solid review rating. My Goldilocks is a 4.7, and I try to get them to 100 reviews and then beyond. It's not a destination. This is something that has to continue. Review reputation management is something that can't be put on autopilot. It's something, the key word there is management. It's something that actually actively needs to be managed. There's no set it and forget it. It doesn't work. It ends up harming you. But a company like this one with a 4.7 rating on 112 reviews is in great shape. People are going to look at that and think it's great. They're going to look at their other reviews and see high ratings everywhere. And so there's no reason to believe anything other than the fact that this would probably make a good choice as far as one of the companies they're going to check into and maybe give a call. Now, for those of you on the list that are short of numbers like these, that you're not quite at 4.7, maybe you're down in the low fours, or maybe you only have 20 or 30 reviews or something like that. These are attainable goals within a relatively short period of time. This outfit right here is going to get a whole lot of phone calls with numbers like that. And I just want you to understand that there's nothing special. It's just an auto body shop. It's not there's no magic pill that he took to get numbers like that. He's probably making good efforts to ensure that people are reviewing him on Google. And here he is right at the top of the 3-pack. So I mean, he's going to win this battle 19 out of 20 times. I don't see any reason why anybody would call either one of these two outfits, because this is clearly the best numbers on the 3-pack. And obviously looking at the map, seeing if anybody's better, nothing's jumping right out at me. I mean, I see a lot of numbers that are quite a bit worse. and nothing on page one. And by the way, 75% of people who search for businesses will not go beyond page one. So this is where you want to be. And the best way to get there and be solid there is with solid numbers. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the list, and we'll talk about who finished number one in town. Okay, so this is one of my famous spreadsheets, and as you can see, I'm half geek and I really like numbers. I like to analyze things at a granular level, break numbers down, look for patterns, and certainly a pattern here. You might not immediately recognize the patterns, but I do, especially if I break them down further into different types of things that I see. There's definitely patterns that emerge in business, and that is because consumer behavior is a predictable thing. And I like to see how it relates to particular industries as well as individual businesses. So on this list, there's about 40 shops, give or take. I didn't get everybody. I did see a few that could have been included, but it was kind of too late to throw them in. And then I deliberately excluded others. In particular, the first type of business that I wanted to exclude was the hobby shop type of business. So as an example, I wanted to show you this guy because I thought his shop was just awesome. But Rick's in Concord. There's actually like 3 different Ricks out there. And I don't believe they're affiliated, but I think Rick lives in Concord, lives in this house, and here's his shop right next door. So he probably walks down these stairs with a cup of joe and goes to work in his little 2-bay shop and does a car a week, or I don't know. But I'm after the entrepreneur, more of the going concern or a force in the industry. And no offense, Rick, but that's really not you. Even though you have some really good Google numbers, I just love this shop. It looks fantastic. But look at this guy's numbers on Google, 5 stars on 104 reviews. That's excellent. And he's got 12 votes on Facebook and didn't have any presence anywhere else. But again, this is not really the type of business that I was seeking to assess. Looking for more entrepreneurial endeavors rather than somebody who fixes cars and hangs up a shingle, even no matter how cool the shop looks. Also excluded from this list are large MSOs and certainly the consolidators like Caliber and Gerber, Abra, and Service King. Those are the big 4. And Caliber recently absorbed all of the Abra locations, so they're going to be rebranded as Caliber. They have over 1,000 locations, and they're growing aggressively, as is Gerber. And that should be something that concerns you because they're growing by buying out shops like yours and small MSOs. And if you don't sell to them and you want to stand your ground, well, they're going to buy out your competition and then lay siege and try and starve you out. That's something I talk about later. I'll talk about that with you if you come on board with me as a client, because I do, as an analyst, see some weaknesses that we could possibly exploit. But that's putting the cart way in front of the horse, because really what this is all about is your reputation, and that comes first. Everything else, including search engine optimization and marketing and advertising and all of that, has to follow getting your reputation squared away. And most of you on this list are not what I would consider squared away. And in fact, some of you are in deep need of some intervention. And even those of you in the middle who are looking okay, if you want to stand out and compete with those folks at the very top of this list, you have some work to do as well. That's not to say everybody at the top of the list is doing everything exactly right, because that isn't the case. And it's certainly not the case that everybody in the middle or at the bottom don't run good, tight shops and do good work. It's just this online portion, which has nothing to do with the quality of your work. You're not squared away as far as the online presence, which is a completely different ballgame. That's my ballpark, and I know how to do this kind of thing, and that's why I'm going through this little exercise here. Now, obviously, you know your craft and you know how to run your shop. I mean, I liken it to a sailboat, a big 3-masted sailing ship, and you're the captain and your shop is the ship, and And there's a whole lot that goes into the smooth operation of the ship. And everything's got to be done just so. You have to trust your crew to do everything right. And you're the one up there barking orders and making sure that it gets done right. And then you have your dealings with customers, but you deal with customers on an individual level, one at a time. And you make sure that your contact with them goes well from the point of first contact to the work that you do for them to the delivery of the product and so on. So that has a good deal to do, obviously, with how you get rated. These are like votes. Each one of these columns that contain these numbers of reviews represent individuals. I look at things a little more globally because I don't deal with your individual customers. An individual is a very unpredictable thing. They could be this way or they could be that way. But on the other hand, when I look at them in a group called consumers, consumer behavior is very predictable. And how you rank on this list has at least as much to do with how you deal with each individual customer as it does how you orient the ship as far as its course and adjust the sails for the wind. The consumer behavior is the wind, and your shop is the ship, if that makes sense to you as an analogy. As far as ranking goes on my list, it was pretty hard for me to decide between Bodyworks Plus and McClure Collision Center. They both have very good ratings. McClure had a 4.9 on Google, and Bodyworks had a 4.8. The reason why Bodyworks edged them out was the total number of Google reviews was very impressive. Even though I didn't care for the balance, this is the percent of total reviews that Google represents. I usually like to see more balance than that, but they were very consistent across the board. 4.8 on Google, 4.8 on Auto Body Review, and 4.8 on CarWise. And the other thing I didn't really care for as far as what I saw in their numbers was this ridiculously high number of reviews going to a third-party vertical site, which that's what all of these are, is third-party review sites, but vertical. Vertical means they are collecting reviews in only one type of industry. Birdeye does more than just one type of industry, but they're very heavy into automotive. All of your other websites here are horizontal, where they cover all business types, and they actually function as directories primarily, and then they just happen to do reviews. So, and your review total is collected here. In any event, I liked the balance that I saw for both. However, the total review count was much higher for Bodyworks than it was for McClure. McClure, even though they had a 4.9 rating on Google, they had just a few less in the last 3 months than did Bodyworks, which that's a very important metric. A little bit less diversity. And oddly enough, they had an abnormally low rating on autobodyreview.com with a 4.5. So had this been a 4.9, it might have been enough for me to consider them number one because I like the balance better. 41% to Google, essentially 49% going everywhere else. And this, by the way, is probably on account of a low review total number of reviews on Auto Body Review. And so the pattern really hasn't had time to mature and shake out yet. So I hardly ever suggest that anybody get more reviews on one of these third-party verticals, but for McClure, in your case, I would suggest that you do that just to get that number up. Carsmetics looked really good for balance. Angie's, Facebook, and Yelp, good, pretty high total for comparatively for these three horizontal sites. Good overall rating, not so hot on the last 3 months, so you don't have the pedal to the metal on Google. And then the overall number of Google reviews was a bit lower than the folks above them. And again, I give Google by far the most weight. Collision Specialties did pretty good. I don't mind at all not seeing any reviews out here, so that's just fine. Birdeye, 103, 5-star rating, not too bad. Angie's List, Yelp, and Yellow Pages. I like seeing Yellow Pages, but only 26 reviews. So 5-star rating, 105 reviews. That's pretty impressive. But they rank below these other guys, even though they have a higher score. because number one, consumers actually are suspicious of 5-star ratings. I mean, it's not a horrible thing to have. It's just when they see some negative reviews, they see a chink in the armor. So long as the business is responding in a positive way to negative reviews, they actually have more confidence in 4.8 and 4.9 than they do 5.0. That's actually true down to about 4.7. Casey Starnes was getting some good numbers. This isn't so bad at such a low number. Again, low number here on these third-party review sites. It's good to have the diversity. It's good to see that you're not focusing too much energy there when that energy is better served here. So this isn't a bad number across 4 different review sites. You're the only person I've seen so far across many cities that had a review on Dex. So that was interesting. Good score on 73 reviews. Good balance and looking good there. So 5-star Auto Collision at 4.7, and again we're talking a bit low on the overall reviews. They probably could get to it a little bit more. However, I very much liked that they had 24 in the last 3 months on Google. That's getting after it. I really like that. And so we also have these folks in the middle here from Axley, Speed Street, D. Gainey, and Midwood Autocraft, all ranking somewhere between 5 stars and 4.7 stars. And again, the total review counts on Google were a little bit low. I was enough so that I even considered for a moment putting Luxury Auto Body Shop at a 4.4. They're already ahead of a 5-star rating, but I almost put them up here. And the reason why I didn't is because they've got, this part doesn't bother me, that they don't have any on any of these verticals. Doesn't bug me a bit. I didn't like that they only have 6 reviews on any other horizontal review sites. They're putting it all to Google right now to the tune of 95% essentially. And I don't fault them for that, because that actually needs to be where they put their attention. Clearly, they had some issues and they're getting after it with 37 reviews in the last 3 months. That's it's incredible. That's 12 reviews a month. I don't know how many invoices you guys close out in an average month, but I would suspect that 12 is a high percentage overall. So really getting after it. I like seeing that. The trend is up. So you guys clearly had a review score problem prior to that 37. I didn't calculate out what you were before this push, but keep up the good work. And that's why you ended up ranking so high. I think you guys are headed places. When you get that score to a 4.7 or 4.8, then you can take the gas off of Google and start focusing elsewhere. Diversity is good. Just remember that part. And then we have the rest of these folks down here. 3 Masters with their 5-star rating on only 22 reviews on Google, only 24 total. Yeah, it's a nice score. 15 in the last 3 months. So clearly you guys, I don't know if you're new. I would suspect that means you're new. And but I like what I'm seeing. So keep the pedal to the metal on Google until you get to a comfortable level. I would suggest 50, and then you can back off a bit and start focusing elsewhere. And then we have quite a few 4.6s, but decent review count. You guys got to be careful that you don't dig too deep of a hole. If you want to be rated higher, then you're going to need to concentrate on that and make sure you're checking out your negative reviews, looking for patterns. So particularly when I see a low percentage going to Google, this is really low. It means that they're focusing a lot, probably too much elsewhere. Usually a low number here is associated with a low rating score on Google. And you see that down at the bottom of the list where you've got these people that are getting anywhere from 1% to 7 or 12% of their total reviews going to Google, and all this attention getting paid to these third-party verticals here and here. And this is the result. It might have nothing to do with the quality of work they're putting out. So for all of you, whether you're at the bottom, you're at the middle, you're at the cusp of breaking into this top 20, or maybe you're potentially looking to move up, I want you to know that numbers like these are absolutely attainable. This is something that can be done. It just takes some persistence and some dedication and effort over time. No magic pill. It takes work. Now, in the next video, if you opt in on where this video is hosted, you'll see an opt-in. I need a good email address, and I need your name, obviously, and the name of your business, so that what I'm going to offer you on the other side is a free breakdown of how your business is standing. And this is personalized to your business. And I'll do this free of charge, where I'm going to go over what your scores are, where everything's going, where it ought to change, looking at those new reviews, which sites that you're on, where you're, if you have any unverified listings, where you need to claim your listings, that kind of thing, and your trends. So we will look at that report, which this one has to do with your reputation. And we'll look at another report that this is a little bit more on the SEO side, but it's still related, looking at work that needs to be done, things that might be overlooked, and things that you probably should be focusing on. And so I'll get you these two reports for free. And in addition to that, I'm going to include a narrative looking at my own breakdown and explanation of your numbers. And I'm not going to hold back anything. I'm going to tell you what you can do without using me, without paying me $1. These are the things that you should be focusing on, and here's how. Right down to the methods that I use. I'm going to explain the diagnosis of the problem and the remedy, right down and including the software that I use, which you can get for yourself. And you'll have to pay for it, and you'll have to learn how to use it, and you're going to have to make sure that you don't ignore it, because it's something that requires attention. We'll talk more about that on the other side, but the point is I want to let you know that in the next video, you are going to be getting the information that you need to fix whatever issues you're facing now. If you want to be further up this list or at the top of the list, this is the information you are going to need to be able to do it. And I'll spare you the suspense. Yes, I'm going to be selling you on my services, because these are things that I do for all business types. Now, most recently, I've had my head turned by the auto body industry, because you've got a lot of things going on, big changes happening with these big consolidators. The Gerbers and the Calibers of the world are gobbling up a lot of your competition, and you should regard them as a potential existential threat. And so that's something I'd like to discuss with you as well on the other side. So you should have nothing to fear by opting in. It's just a method that we can communicate, and I can send you those reports, and I can get you the information that you need to take care of business as far as your online reputation goes, because looking at this list, a lot of you need to start focusing some attention there. So hope to see you on the other side, and thanks for listening.